Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, April the 14th. Wrestlemania has come and gone. Hope everybody had a great Wrestlemania week and weekend. I want to thank everybody for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever you find your podcasts. And hope everybody's following on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat on all of those platforms. It is at Catch, Hook, Shoot. And as always, if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So, let's get right into all the results from the WrestleMania week, from all the big shows that I previewed on last week's episode. Starting off with Impact here, their United We Stand pay-per-view. We had Johnny Impact winning Ultimate X match, so he's now got an X Division Championship match coming up, so that'll be interesting. Curious to see if they're going to put that title on him as well. Taya retained the Knockouts Championship. Team Lucha Underground defeated Team Impact. LAX defeated Promociones Dorado from MLW. Tessa Blanchard defeated Joey Ryan in an intergender match. Rich Swann retained the X Division Championship. Sami Callihan defeated Jimmy Havoc. The Lucha Brothers defeated RVD and Sabu. Some interesting news from Impact. RVD apparently has signed a new contract with Impact Wrestling, so we'll be seeing more of him on Impact in the coming weeks. And then on Friday on Impact Television, Jordan Grace defeated Madison Rayne to become #1 contender once again for the Knockouts Championship. So she'll be facing Taya at the next pay-per-view, which is called Rebellion. Jordan was then attacked by Taya and Johnny Mundo. Brian Cage made the save in that one. Then this past Friday had a mixed tag team match between those two teams, and apparently it looks like the Impact senior referee Johnny Bravo kind of had a bit of a heel turn and sided with Taya and Johnny Impact, so interesting to see what's going to happen with that going forward. For MLW, LA Park won their Battle Riot pay-per-view. Filthy Tom Lawler retained the World Heavyweight Championship. Teddy Hart retained the Middleweight Championship. Looks like the finals for the MLW National Championship are going to be Brian Pillman Jr. versus Alex Hammerstone. So it should be interesting there to see who's going to be crowning new champion for MLW. The Ring of Honor and New Japan G1 Supercard at Madison Square Garden was personally, I think it was a great show, but I saw a lot of kind of mixed reviews online. Some people loved it, some people hated it, but the Garden was sold out, and Kenny King won the Honor Rumble, so he will be getting a championship match. Jeff Cobb defeated Will Ospreay to become both the Ring of Honor TV champion and the Never Openweight champion for New Japan. Roosh defeated Dalton Castle in what was basically a squash match. Kelly Klein defeated Kelly Klein defeated Iwatani for the Women of Honor Championship. The Guerrillas of Destiny won a four-way match for the Ring of Honor and IWGP Tag Team titles. Saw an interesting run-in this match from Enzo and Big Cass, of all people. Looks like they're going to be doing some work for Ring of Honor. It was kind of made out to be a shoot, but then I'm thinking it was more of a work shoot, because now they are they're putting out some promos and things like that, and apparently their new names are Enzo, which is NZO, and Kaz XL, CAZXL, and the name of their team apparently is Free Agency. That's AGEN, the letter Z. So they seems to be a bit of a theme there with the letter Z with them. So we'll have to see. Looks like what their involvement's going to be in the tag team division going forward with Ring of Honor. Again, this was something, some people thought it was cool, some people didn't like it. I mean, Enzo was not very well liked by a lot of fans, so, a lot of people were kind of down on this angle. Apparently, New Japan did not know that Ring of Honor was going to be running this angle, so I don't know if that's going to create any tension there between the two companies, but, it is what it is. Zack Sabre Jr. retained the British Heavyweight Championship. Kota Ibushi wins the Intercontinental Championship. Matt Taven won the ladder match for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship, and Kazuchika Okada once again is the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, defeating Jay White. Moving on to the WWE Hall of Fame, of course, the big talk about that was Bret Hart being attacked by a quote-unquote fan during his induction speech. And yeah, I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to all the WWE guys sitting around ringside. I mean, no sooner had that guy hit the ring than the ring was pretty much full with guys pulling him off of Bret and dragging him out of the arena. Also got to give a lot of credit to Travis Brown, Ronda Rousey's husband. I mean, he was right in there and all over the guy, and you figure he doesn't even work for WWE. He was there obviously with Ronda Rousey, but he really stepped up, and so like I said, a lot of kudos go to Travis Brown for jumping in and helping with that. Yeah, some funny stuff going on during the Hall of Fame, specifically during the D-Generation X induction. A couple of references made to AEW, not specifically by name, but Billy Gunn saying, "Oh, Vince can't fire him." Triple H saying, "Oh, Vince will buy that pissant company just to fire you again." Some people took this stuff way too seriously. I mean, I look at it, they were having fun and joking around, and that's pretty much what it was. Moving on to NXT TakeOver, we've got a new United Kingdom champion. Walter defeated Pete Dunne, ending his, I think it was 685-day title reign. Shayna Baszler retained her championship in a four-corner match. Velveteen Dream retained the North American Championship against Matt Riddle. A great match there. The War Raiders retained against Aleister Black and Ricochet. Fantastic tag team match to open up the NXT TakeOver show. And Johnny Gargano is your new NXT champion. Defeated Adam Cole 2 out of 3 falls in the main event. Again, a fantastic match, a great, just top to bottom, the NXT show to me was fantastic, probably the best show of the weekend. Moving on to WrestleMania, yeah, I mean, nearly 8 hours from start to finish, from the kickoff show all the way through the main card, and it was a very good WrestleMania. I mean, compared to last year's, it was fantastic. Honestly, to me, probably the best WrestleMania of at least the last 5 years, if not more. Had quite a few new champions crowned. Of course, Tony Nese is a new Cruiserweight champion. Iconics are your new Women's Tag Team champions. Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins are the new Raw Tag Team champions. Finn Balor as the Demon defeated Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship. Kofi Kingston, your new WWE champion, defeated Daniel Bryan in what was probably the best match of the show. Between Kofi and Bryan, and no surprise there. They're two, as far as in-ring goes, two of the best that WWE has to offer. Seth Rollins, in the opening match of the show, defeated Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. I know a lot of people were very happy about that. It was a great way to kick the show off, get the people hyped up right off the bat. And Becky Lynch is your new Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion, defeated Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. Pinned Ronda Rousey to get the victory. There was a little controversy, and it's still kind of being talked about online about Ronda's shoulders not being down when the 3 count started. Now people are saying that was supposed to be the finish, that wasn't supposed to be the finish, that Becky was supposed to win by submission and this and that. And honestly, and I said this on Twitter shortly after it happened, Ronda, the way that she's presented, her losing to a quick pin like that, in this case the crucifix type pin that Becky used, is more believable than her tapping out, to me. That's the way that I view it. It's easier to believe that she got caught with a quick roll up than she was beaten with a submission, especially with an armbar in Becky Lynch's case, because obviously that's Ronda's move, is an armbar, so you would think she'd know how to avoid it and get out of it and everything like that. So if she would have tapped out to the disarmor from Becky Lynch, I think it would have, again, I'll say it would not have been as believable for me as her getting just caught in a quick roll up the way that she did. So the only thing, like I said, was that her shoulders were not down when the refs started the 3 count, and so that kind of detracted from it a little bit. Word was that Vince McMahon actually fined the referee for not breaking the count and restarting it when Ronda's shoulders were down. But to say that Ronda or Becky botched something in this particular case, I think is totally inaccurate. Like I said, by all accounts, that's exactly how the match was supposed to end, with the quick roll-up pin. It was just a matter of, Ronda didn't have her shoulders pressed to the mat at the beginning of the 3 count. And I mean, if you go back and watch, she got her shoulders down when the referee started counting. It says he should have held off on that count until her shoulders were actually down. But I mean, that's, pretty much the only negative from it, and I look at it as a referee mistake, not as a mistake by one of the wrestlers. But either way it goes, Becky Lynch is the new WWE Women's Champion for both shows, Raw and SmackDown. Kurt Angle had his retirement match at WrestleMania, lost to Baron Corbin. Not totally unexpected. I mean, I figured Kurt Angle would go out on his back, as is tradition, and that's exactly what he did. People still weren't happy about the fact that Corbin was his opponent, but again, it is what it is. It was the whole. I think the more important thing about that match was Angle getting his moment at the end to say goodbye to the crowd and getting his send off, and that was successfully done. It was done very well. For the United States title, Samoa Joe retained against Rey Mysterio. This was basically a squash match, only lasted about a minute or so. But it was reported by Rey Mysterio himself. He does have an ankle injury, so it was just a matter of, I think, WWE just kind of trying to protect him and not injure the ankle further, but still put on the match that was advertised. And supposedly, it sounds like, there's quite a few injuries going on in WWE right now. One report said that Ronda Rousey broke her hand during the main event, or there was another speculation out there that her hand might have already been injured because she has been having it wrapped pretty regularly the last few weeks. But by all accounts, she is taking time away from WWE, so that really is not going to affect anything going forward. Hopefully it heals up and she is able to come back at some point, which I'm sure she will. I'm sure we'll see her in a WWE ring again. My guess is probably not till next WrestleMania, if the reports are true that she is planning on starting a family and things like that, which great for her. Some other injuries coming out of WrestleMania was that AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan were possibly injured. I didn't see a whole lot of detail on that, so hopefully it's nothing too serious. Big E looks like he's going to be out for a few weeks with a knee injury. He's getting his knee scoped, so nothing too serious there. I believe the report that I read said 4 to 6 weeks. Probably the biggest injury, though, is Nia Jax. Looks like she's got to have double ACL surgery, so she's going to be gone for a significant amount of time. On Raw this week, we finally saw the long-awaited debut of Lars Sullivan. Came out and kind of beat down Kurt Angle a little bit. So not really injecting him into a storyline quite yet, but having him come out and kind of show his dominance. Dean Ambrose wrestled his last match on Raw this week against Drew McIntyre. Had the return of Sami Zayn in a match against Finn Balor, and Sami made a little bit of a heel turn there. Got on the mic and kind of ripped the fans apart a little bit. And I tweeted it out myself. A lot of stuff he was saying. He's not wrong about a certain group of wrestling fans with things that he said. Lacey Evans finally got into a physical confrontation on Raw when she hit Becky Lynch with what she calls the women's right, basically just a right cross to the face. So it's looking like what's been kind of going around the rumor mill about her is true, that she's going to be thrust right into the title picture against Becky Lynch. So I would think more than likely we'll be seeing that match at the next pay-per-view, Money in the Bank. We had another, what was supposed to be winner-take-all match with Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins as the main event on Raw, but of course that was broken up by The Bar. Sheamus and Cesaro. Didn't really understand what the story of that was. I mean, I figured, I didn't expect it to be an actual match. I figured a disqualification, no contest, which is exactly what we got. And it turned into a tag team match with Kofi and Seth versus The Bar. I didn't understand the involvement of The Bar. I figured whoever got involved in the match would be somebody to challenge for one or both championships to kind of start off the next rivalry for one of these guys. So just kind of a confusing ending. Moving on to SmackDown, we had The Bar and Drew McIntyre taking on the New Day in a 6-man tag team match. And McIntyre kind of disappeared in the middle of this match, and apparently that was by design as well. He didn't leave the ringside area because he was injured or anything. It was done as a protective measure so that he wouldn't be out there during the finish of the match with the Bar taking the loss to the New Day. Then we had another six-man match: Aleister Black, Ricochet, and Ali versus Nakamura, Rusev, and Andrade. The shows this week really didn't do much to create any new storylines or anything like that. It was just kind of a I don't want to say filler, but that's probably the best word for it, because we do have the Superstar Shakeup coming next week. Now the Iconics did have a tag team match on SmackDown against a local team, and I think pretty much the point of that was the segment that we saw Paige backstage watching on a monitor and made the announcement that she's going to be bringing in a new team to challenge the Iconics this coming week. And the reports are that it's going to be the Sky Pirates, Io Shirai, and Kairi Sane from NXT. So I think that should be a pretty good matchup right there. So that obviously will be part of the Superstar Shakeup happening this week. Now at the NXT tapings, Kairi Sane did have a match and kind of said her farewells to the NXT fans. So that again points to her being brought to the main roster. Some sad news this week. Vampiro put out a video announcing that he's been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. It's again very sad news. Vampiro, of course, a legend in the wrestling business, predominantly in Mexico, but did have a pretty good run in WCW before they closed up. And then some other strange rumors going around that Sasha Banks tried to quit the WWE over WrestleMania weekend because of the outcome of the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Not that she had any problem with the Iconics. It's just that apparently she was under the impression that she and Bayley were going to get a pretty lengthy title run as the first Women's Tag Team Champions, and that didn't happen. And I understand the frustration, I guess, but to take it to that extent, trying to quit the company and things like that, I think is a little bit extreme. Obviously I'm not there. I don't work in WWE, so I don't see all the behind the scenes stuff, but outwardly as a fan, I wouldn't think that Sasha is one that I would call mistreated. She's had numerous championship runs. Granted, none of them have been very long. She's really never held a title past her first title defense, and I'm talking about on the main roster. I'm not talking about NXT. But so I get the frustration. She's never had a significant title run with any championship. So, how much truth there is to these rumors that she tried to quit and ask for her release, who really knows? When it comes to the dirt sheets, what they're reporting, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, because you don't know what their sources are. They all say they have sources within WWE, and that's fine and good, but, obviously they're not going to reveal who those sources are by name or by anything else. It's, so, like I said, you have to take everything that they say with a grain of salt, because are they getting this from a talent? Are they getting it from an office person? Are they getting it from management? Are they getting it from a writer or a producer? Are they getting it from an intern? Are they getting it from the second floor janitor at Titan Towers? Who knows? So you have to take it with a grain of salt. But word is that she tried to quit, and she and Bayley staged some kind of protest both at WrestleMania in the locker room and back at their hotel. Just kind of like laying on the floor and being very vocal about their displeasure with what was going on. So I guess we'll have to see how this plays out. Is Sasha going to get granted her release? Apparently she supposedly unfollowed Vince McMahon in WWE and is now following some AEW, more AEW stuff on Twitter. And personally, with some of that stuff, I think it's just Sasha trolling the fans. Now, I'll say up front, I have no sources on this. That's just my opinion based on the content of some stuff that she posted and the fact that she's following some AEW um, Twitter accounts. So to me, that's what it looks like. Is she's just kind of having some fun with the fans and fueling the rumor mills just to kind of screw with people, so to speak. But again, we'll see how that all plays out. Talking about AEW, another rumor is that Warner Media is going to be including AEW in their upfronts on May 15th. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar what an upfront is, it's when the networks, TV networks, present their programming lineups to advertisers. And supposedly AEW, again, is going to be included with Warner Media. Now, Warner Media is the parent company of the Turner Networks, TNT and TBS. So, yeah, interesting. And that I think was pretty much the what a lot of people were assuming, was that it would be one of those networks that would be presenting AEW's TV show, especially after JR said, it's a huge network, it's something everybody has. When you're talking about cable networks, I mean that, those are, at least with me, the first ones that pop into mind when you're talking about a network that everybody has and it's easily accessible is TNT or TBS. So we'll have to see once May 15th rolls around if that is the case. And another rumor about AEW is that their TV show, which supposedly is called based on trademarks that they filed for, supposedly their show is going to be called Tuesday Night Dynamite, but the rumor is that it's not going to be a year-round show, so that would indicate that they're going to have some kind of off-season, which in pro wrestling is huge. I mean, Roman Reigns actually said wrestlers would benefit from having an off-season to be able to heal up and just kind of recharge and things like that, rather than being on the road 300 days a year or whatever it might be. So that's something else that's gonna, I think, attract more talent. And if wrestlers choose to work during that off season, take indie bookings, by all accounts, the AEW contracts are going to allow for that. So it gives them a chance to make keep their names out there and make continue making indie appearances and make extra money for themselves. So it I mean, just based on rumors, because that's all we have at this point, it sounds like AEW from a wrestler standpoint is going to be a pretty good place to work. I mean, you're talking good money, medical benefits supposedly, and possibility of an off season. I mean, if I was a wrestler, I'd be first in line. Where do I sign? So we'll have to see how all this stuff kind of plays out here. And so I wanted to make a pretty big announcement here. I know I teased this a little bit last week, but coming up on Sunday, May 12th, Mother's Day, Warrior Wrestling here in Chicago is going to be putting on their 5th event at Marion Catholic High School. And as always, they will be having their Fan Fest before the wrestling event starts. And the Fan Fest starts at noon, and the event starts at 2. And I am very, very excited to announce that Catch, Hook, and Shoot will be part of the Fan Fest. We'll be there recording, and hopefully I'm going to try my best to get, a couple of interviews, get at least a few words from some of the stars that are going to be there. The ones that, a few of the ones that are going to be in attendance are going to be Brian Cage, the Lucha Brothers, Jordan Grace, Molly Holly, Tessa Blanchard. Should be a great show. So if you're in the Chicago area, if you're going to be in the Chicago area, try to come and check it out, because I was at their last event, Warrior Wrestling 4, and it was amazing. So they get a lot of good talent. The Fan Fest is very fan friendly. It's $25 to get into the Fan Fest, and that's it. There's no additional charges for photo ops or autographs or anything like that. It's one-time fee. The only thing you pay extra for, obviously, the wrestlers, they bring merchandise, t-shirts, things like that. So obviously that's not covered under that $25, but just for a photo op and an autograph from some pretty big some of the top indie stars in wrestling right now. I mean, Warrior Wrestling for the main event was SCU versus OVE. It doesn't get much bigger than that when you're talking about indie wrestling. And at this particular event, they will be crowning their first ever Warrior Wrestling Women's Champion, a match with Jordan Grace versus Tessa Blanchard with Molly Holly as a special referee. And Brian Cage will be defending the Warrior Wrestling Championship against a wrestler named Wardlow. If you're not familiar with him, he actually had a match against Moose at the last Warrior Wrestling and defeated Moose, surprisingly enough. Another big, tough, heavy-hitting guy, should match up very well with Brian Cage. I'm not super familiar with Wardlow, but after seeing the match he had against Moose, I'm definitely impressed with what I've seen so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more. So, again, that is Sunday, May 12th, Mother's Day, starting at noon for the Fan Fest and 2 p.m. for the actual event. WarriorWrestling.net is where you can go to see the entire card and get tickets. And just like I said, if you're in Chicago or going to be in Chicago that weekend, try to come and check it out. They put on a great show, and proceeds from the show go to Marian Catholic High School for scholarships and things like that. So, it's a win-win right there. And if you make it out to the show, stop by, say hi. I'll be happy to put you on the mic for a minute or two and talk to you about the show or whatever the case may be. So hopefully see some of you guys out there. And I know I mentioned last week I'm going to get back into the lists that I put together. I already did my list of my top 100 male wrestlers of all time, and my next one I'm going to be starting here today. Part 1 is going to be the top 50 women of all time in pro wrestling. I'm going to go through numbers 50 through 26 today, and next week I'll go count down 25 to 1. So we're going to jump right into that here. Number 50. Now, this first one, she's not actually a wrestler, but she, her contributions in the business, her importance cannot be denied, and that is Miss Elizabeth. She was really the first woman to be put out there as a manager, not referred to as a valet or anything like that. Of course, you had Jimmy Garvin had Precious, but she was called a valet, and things like that. But Elizabeth was really, one of the first women to be put at the forefront as a manager with Macho Man Randy Savage, and you just can't deny her importance to the business, both in WWE and WCW. And how she's not in the Hall of Fame yet is beyond me, but I'm sure it is coming. I'm sure it'll happen at some point. I mean, the Hall of Fame's not going anywhere, so she will, without a doubt in my mind, be part of the Hall of Fame at some point. The next on my list is actually a tag team, so I guess you could say it's top 51 if you want to get real technical about it, but it's the Jumping Bomb Angels. Now, any of you guys who are not familiar with them, go back and check out the Survivor Series and Royal Rumble from 1987 and 88. They're former WWF Women's Tag Team Champions, and just really, to me, ahead of their time. I mean, they were a Japanese team and did a lot of kind of high-flying stuff and were very, very good in the ring. And like I said, ahead of their time. If they were around today, if they were still wrestling, I think they'd be right at the top as far as the women's tag team division in WWE. Next, I've got Velvet McIntyre, former WWF Women's Champion, former WWF Women's Tag Team Champion, was part of WrestleMania 2 against the Fabulous Moolah, and a lot of these names are going to be, not a lot, but these first several here are going to be a lot of names out of the past that some of you guys might not be familiar with. I definitely would encourage you to go back and look them up, though, because these are some women who made some very, very big contributions to women's wrestling before it was ever taken very seriously. And I also have to say a majority of these women are ones that came into prominence, and I'm talking on the entire list, are ones that came into prominence just within the last 20 years, just because, again, women's wrestling was never taken very seriously. It was never a major part of any particular wrestling show, unless it was an all-women's show like, I can't even say Glow, because that was never, I don't think, ever meant to be taken too seriously. But yeah, so I'm trying to, pay respect to a lot of the names in the past who kind of laid the groundwork for women to be taken seriously in the wrestling business. On that note, next is Leilani Kai, another former WWF Women's Champion, WWF Women's Tag Team Champion. She was a part of WrestleMania 1. She was the Women's Champion, defended against Wendy Richter in WrestleMania 1. Next is Judy Martin. She was the tag team partner of Leilani Kai in a team called the Glamour Girls, who were the WWF Tag Team Champions. She was also an NWA Women's United States Champion. Next is June Byers, a former NWA World Women's Champion and a member of the WWE Hall of Fame. Next is another WWE Hall of Famer, Judy Grable. We've got Mildred Burke, who was the first NWA World Women's Champion, also a member of the WWE Hall of Fame. She was very, very big in the early days of women's wrestling. Started her own promotion. She was kind of drummed out of the NWA because of some animosity, I guess you could say, between her and her ex-husband, Billy Wolf, who was pretty much the top NWA promoter in those days. The next two on my list, some people are probably going to roll their eyes at, the Bella Twins, Brie and Nikki Bella. I understand a lot of people don't like them, but you can't really deny their place in history as far as women's wrestling goes. Nikki Bella, of course, longest reigning Divas champion of all time. And, they were kind of part of that in-between class that kind of bridged the gap between the Divas days when you had the bra and panties matches and the pudding matches and all that kind of stuff, and today where women's wrestling is pretty much right on par with the men. So I think they definitely deserve a place on this list. Next is Daphne. I don't know how many of you guys will remember her from her WCW days as a manager for David Flair and Crowbar. She was one. The reason I put her on this list is because she's one that really went against the grain. She was not your typical, blonde-haired girl next door supermodel type. She had more of a kind of a goth type gimmick, and when she first started off, kind of a crazy psycho type gimmick, and known as the Scream Queen, things like that. And Daphne back then during the Monday Night Wars was really one of my favorites to watch. She was just very, very entertaining, and you didn't get to see too much of it in WCW, but she, if you can find some of her indie matches, really a very, very good in-ring competitor. She is retired now, but just if you're not familiar with her, do yourself a favor, go back and watch, because she was, like I said, one that really went against the grain of what a women's wrestler was in those days as far as WCW and WWE went. Next on my list is Caitlyn. She was another one that kind of helped to bridge the gap between the Divas era and the Superstar era, I guess you could call it, for the women. Another one that didn't fit the mold. She was more muscular. Didn't she stood out from the other women in WWE at that time. Of course, she also a former Divas champion. Next on my list, getting into some more current superstars, is Sasha Banks. She has been a part of a lot of firsts with WWE. First Iron Woman match, the first Hell in a Cell, first Women's Tag Team Champion with Bayley. She's been NXT Women's Champion. She's been WWE Women's Champion. She's been a huge part of the women's revolution in WWE, and has definitely earned respect and earned a spot on this list for me, as well as the next person on the list, which is Bayley. Again, right there with Sasha Banks, been a part of a lot of firsts for women in WWE. The Iron Woman match, first ever, not first ever, but first ever women's tag team champion of the revived championship in this era. I mean, WWE has not had women's tag team champions since the late 80s, so definitely has earned her spot as well. Next on my list, and this woman is somebody who I think really is the future of women's wrestling, and that's Jordynne Grace. I have become a huge Jordynne Grace fan over the last year or so, and she's one I think she can believably hang in that ring with pretty much anybody, be it man or woman. I know, the mainstream wrestling companies like WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, you don't see a lot of intergender stuff, but you do see it on the independents. Sometimes in Impact, the last couple weeks, it's been, been gotten a little more attention as far as Impact goes. But she's one, can, like I said, can believably hang in there with men or women, just because of the way that I see it is her size and her build. She's not so huge that it's not believable for her to be in a match with somebody like Madison Rayne, but she's not so small that you don't think she could hang in a match with, say, Johnny Impact or whoever else it might be, or like a Joey Ryan or something like that. So she can get in there and mix it up with pretty much anybody, and her in-ring style is great. Her finishing move, it's probably my favorite finishing move of anybody else in the business right now. The Grace driver, as they call it on Impact, kind of like a pump handle Michinoku driver, but so definitely an up and comer. And like I said, I view her as a future of the business, as well as the next person on my list. I kind of view the same way as Tessa Blanchard, former Impact Women's Champion. She's been a part of the Mae Young Classic in WWE and had some matches in NXT. She is the WoW Women's Champion as well. And Jordan Grace and Tessa Blanchard, they're like 23, 24 years old, so they have very, very long careers ahead of them. And I look forward to see where women's wrestling goes with these two. Next on my list is the current Impact Women's Champion, Taya, a huge star in Mexico, and has is becoming a huge star in the U.S. as part of Impact Wrestling. Next on my list is Mercedes Martinez, very highly respected veteran in the business, has been part of both Mae Young classics, and just a great in-ring performer. Like I said, very well respected veteran in women's wrestling. Next I have Santana Garrett, who was a big part of WoW Women's Wrestling, former champion there. And again, has had some time in NXT. She's one I definitely expect to see in NXT sooner rather than later. Next on the list, another very highly respected veteran is Meiko Satomura. Again, part of the Mae Young Classic this past year, and just amazing in the ring. Another one who has started her own promotion in Japan, and I mean, what else can be said? And I'm not getting into super great detail on too many of these, if any. I highly encourage you guys to, if you're hearing some names that you're not familiar with, just look them up. Just read up on them. It won't take too long. Just like I said, it will definitely pay off in your wrestling IQ to know some of these names. Like the next one on this list, Akira Hokuto, another Japanese superstar. She was part of WCW's short-lived women's division, had a lot of great matches with Medusa back during the Monday Night Wars, and just a fantastic in-ring performer, very well respected in Japan. As is the next name on my list is Bull Nakano, former WWF Women's Champion, had a great rivalry with Medusa both in WWF and in WCW back during the Monday Night Wars. Next on my list, the current AEW star, will be part of Double or Nothing coming up next month, is Aja Kong. Again, another one, look up some of her matches, just very, big, hard-hitting, rough and tough in the ring, and just a lot of fun to watch. As is the next one on my list, which is ODB. Had a brief run in WWE developmental, but really kind of came into her own as part of the TNA Knockouts division, and just again a lot of fun to watch. Former Knockouts Tag Team Champion, and I can't say enough about ODB. She is one of my favorite women wrestlers of all time. And the final one for today's list, this is number 26, is Velvet Sky, multiple time TNA Knockouts champion, Knockouts Tag Team Champion, and just really kind of, is one that was part of that core group of knockouts that really kind of built the TNA Women's Division to be one of the most watched things on on that show. And she's another one that a lot of people will kind of trash talk her online, and love her or hate her, she has earned her place in in women's wrestling, and I have utmost easy enough for me to say respect for her and the things that she's accomplished in the business. And of course, just recently made her debut for Ring of Honor at the Madison Square Garden show over WrestleMania weekend. So that is number 50 through 26 for my top 50 women of all time. I will count down from 25 to 1 next week. Again, don't forget May 12th, Mother's Day, Warrior Wrestling 5 at Marian Catholic High School here in Chicago. Doors open at noon for their Fan Fest. Come out, meet some of your favorite independent stars, get photo ops, autographs. Should be a lot of fun, and I will be there taping the show that day. So yeah, I'm hoping to, like I said, hopefully get a couple of words here and there from some of the independent stars that are going to be on the show. So that's pretty much all I've got for this week. Like I said, once again, thanks for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Twitch. Remember, as I said last week, I'm not going to be posting the show on Twitch on a weekly basis anymore, just because they've kind of changed their policies for uploads, but I will still be doing, anytime I do a live stream, it will be on Twitch. Hope everybody's following on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. On each one of those, it's at CatchHookShoot, and the email is catchhookshoot@gmail.com for any questions, comments, anything along those lines. So until next week, I'll be signing off for right now. Hope everybody enjoyed WrestleMania week. The Superstar Shakeup is coming up this week on Raw and SmackDown. It should be interesting how things play out with that. It's always cool to see some of the surprises, new rivalries developing, and things like that. So this kind of sets the direction for WWE for the next year coming up to the next WrestleMania. So until next week, I'm going to sign off right now. Hope everybody has a great week, and I will talk to you guys soon.